Coming up, our conversation with a photographer who captures people in a profound way. And he also happens to be the godfather of BMX. That conversation just ahead on this episode of We're No Damn Experts.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You wanna get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames. If you wanna go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth,
and we're No Damn Experts. Shannon, I know I'm excited about this because in our last episode, I am honored to have in the studio someone who I have fallen in love with just in the last year.
Watch out.
Buckle up, yeah.
And as I dug deeper into surveilling his past, I learned even more about this amazing man with his history with BMX, being the godfather of the entire sport.
Oof.
Whether he agrees with that or not, that's my introduction.
I love it.
He is a writer. He is a photographer. He has an exhibit opening at the CM Russell. 2 members tonight, open to the public tomorrow
Today,
or
when
today
this
as
episode
this
comes
episode
out.
airs. With me is Robert Osborn, who he has introduced as Bob. So I assume we can call him Bob. Robert, I'm so excited that you're here.
Mr. Osborn.
Tell me, as your introduction, a little bit of your history and this wonderful woman that accompanies you. What's her role? Her name?
Oh, Johnny Cash over here.
Providing the music for us.
Okay, let me tell you about Rheanna.
Yes.
Okay, I already asked her permission to do this. I'm going to say my. She's married, has 2 kids. Okay, keep that in mind. Rheanna. Rheanna is my muse. She is my collaborator in the gallery. She framed the entire exhibit. Framed it, and some of those pictures are so big I couldn't do them. And when you get over there, check for dust spots and check the framing.
Oh my gosh,
and
Rheanna.
the presentation of the things. Just don't look at the picture, but also look at the framing, the size.
That's just
all
as
Rheanna.
much an artistic
Curator.
piece of it.
Rheanna is a kind of a holistic curator. But she brings that into the framing, her aesthetic, brings it into her framing, which is just freaking brilliant. I didn't say the bad word.
Well done. Well done, Bob. So how long have you two been a team?
Wait. I'm not done.
I'll let you
Let's
do your
see.
thing.
What have I left out? I'm getting to the book. Okay, we also just came out with a new book called The Street People of the Fort Peck Indian Reservation.
The book is out. The book is out.
It is out.
Okay.
There are a few of them over at the museum.
Ooh.
Rheanna did the final and major design of that book. So not only does she do frames, not only does she tell me which pictures are good and which are anyway, that's Rheanna.
Wow.
The gallery would not be the same. The exhibit would not be the same. Truthfully, my life would not be the same without this lady around.
Oh.
And I've known her. I've known her since she was a 10-year-old drama queen. We hated each other.
Oh my gosh.
I was married to her mother for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that was I can't tell her, she'll kick me under the table. I can't tell you how many years ago that was, but it's quite a few.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's Rheanna.
Okay, now I've got a few questions with that little piece of information. I had questions before that, but let's dig into the CD side of your relationship.
Of me being a drama queen.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that.
So eventually you got over your hatred towards this man, I'm guessing. When did that happen? Like, was there some separation and then you came back? Have you just been bonded ever since you...
You know what? Photography brought us back together.
Okay.
When I became an adult and not a snot-nosed drama queen, I followed Bob, period.
Okay.
I mean, I was with him on photo shoots. I was helping him out. I was taking his workshops. I was admiring him, just following him in the photography footsteps. And then I got pregnant.
Oh.
That changed things.
And
Yeah.
and then
As it does.
and then I was busy, and that totally just stopped. You know, any type of hobby or not hobby's a horrible word.
Terrible word.
Yeah, passion is a better word. Love of anything, you know. And then I
Other than
gave all my love to my kids, and that happened. And it was 4 years ago, maybe.
About that.
Yeah. He called me and my kids were playing in the mud outside and said, "Hey, come in, let's have a chat." And
Here we go.
Let me expand on that a little bit.
I said, "Let me clean off their feet."
Yeah, she says, "Oh, my kids are outside playing in the mud. I got to," and they were.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mother she is. She's cool. She's really cool. Let me tell you a couple other things that she left out. Let's see. So the kids were playing. Anyway, I needed somebody to do some major framing. And I had hired a few people in my gallery in Livingston. Beautiful downtown Livingston.
We know of the town.
Yeah.
You're in Great Falls.
And I had a couple other people that work for me. I have over the past 50, 60 years had a number of people that work for me. I know how they are. Okay. And I couldn't think of anybody to come with, and then bam, I'm thinking, and it's almost like it bounced back, I don't know, a lot of years. And I was thinking, I wonder if Rheanna would do that. And I thought, there's no way. No, she's got 2 new kids, little kid, no way. And I got her phone number from her mother. We still talk. That was the mother I was married to for a while.
Well, I didn't think she'd
got
have
her
more
number,
than one.
called her up, and I asked her if she would come over. I'd like to talk to her, and she came over. Kids are climbing all over her. Remember that? Yeah. Ollie is just all over the place. And I said, I really need somebody to help me. She wasn't going to do it. I knew it. She wasn't going to do it. But I had to ask. And so I said, I really need somebody to help me in the gallery a few days. If I remember correctly, I said, you can tell me which days you want to work. You can tell me how many hours you want to work. You can tell me how much money you want to pay me. And she said yes.
Yeah, it's still that way.
And
too.
I know her well enough now to know that it had nothing to do with how much money she makes or hours, yes, because she's got kids.
Sure.
And now, I told you a minute ago, I've had a number of people. And Rheanna is brilliant. She's just. But I think this might be why, or at least partially. First off, she's an amazing lady. Her and her husband owned how many restaurants in Livingston? 4. Okay.
At
and
one
a bar,
time?
Murray Bar,
Wow.
Livingston. Murray Bar, best
That's an
bar in
institution.
Livingston.
Yeah.
Kind of old cowboy.
Yeah.
Okay. Second Street Bistro, Gil's Goods, and Stella's. And they've sold
That's a
them
lot.
recently. But the point is that Rheanna worked as a server or a
running the business.
Yeah.
but she
Like
worked
any
in the
small
business,
in Montana. Yeah.
and she was the boss, but she also worked in it. And I think Rheanna gets it. If you work for somebody, she gets it. What is required, what is expected, and stuff like that. And the other part of that is we just get along really good.
Yeah. The
So-
art of it, I think, is.
I
a
should
beautiful
also
thing.
throw in that in the process of photographing some of this stuff, Rheanna has been in sweat lodges, at small town powwows where we're the only white people there. She was adopted into the Assiniboine tribe.
Wow.
What am I leaving out of this? She has a few really good friends that are Native people.
Daughter has been accepted into.
Yeah.
A few different reservations.
Sundance. We were at that Sundance thing. So anyway, this is an amazing lady. I don't get to tell her that very often.
Well,
but
And now you
we
have it recorded.
We have it
Am I
recorded.
blushing?
okay.
And you can play it back. So let's dig in a little bit. Obviously, a little bit more anchored in Livingston. You came up from California 20 years ago.
More than that.
Were you
I think it
all
must
in
be about
California?
25.
Were you all in California together?
Okay.
Yep.
How did you end up in Livingston?
Oh,
Who followed who?
let me tell you why. Let's see. When I was 11, they came to me, my mother and Bob, and said that there was 1 million people to one fish in California, and there was 1 million fish to one person in Montana.
Did I say that? That's brilliant.
That's you're so
That
wise,
is
Bob.
true.
You're so
But
wise. Yeah.
And so I followed suit shortly after when I was done with college and
Okay.
just came out here because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Incredible.
Montana.
It's Montana.
because
Yep.
it's
Okay.
Montana.
You're right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that, Bob, you started your career publishing BMX magazines with photography and writing.
Mm.
And today you're taking what I'm going to call stunning portraits of people that you wouldn't normally, that aren't being taken pictures of.
Mm.
How, tell me about that journey. Like, how does that happen? Oh, did I stump him? It's probably being thoughtful.
My first short, quick answer that doesn't really quite explain it is it's the same thing.
Mm.
In here, it's the same thing. When I was photographing BMX, let me tell you where I come from first. My
Yeah.
heroes, the shoulders
Do
that
that.
Yeah.
the shoulders that I'm standing on.
Yeah.
Caravaggio, Rembrandt,
The big ones.
August Sanders, Edward Curtis, Ansel Adams looms
Love.
huge in there. Irving Penn, Richard Avedon, Annie Leibovitz, her black and white portraits of, have you ever seen them?
Yep.
Willie Nelson, Iggy Pop,
Patti Smith.
Patti Smith. Who's that sculpture lady, kind of old lady sculpture with her hand in front? Gorgeous, beautiful. Okay, those are the shoulders I'm standing on. Those are the same shoulders that I was standing on when I started photographing BMX. In other words, I didn't do it completely from a documentary point of view. I did it from an art point of view, but yes, I'm documenting the sport, but that's not my main thing that goes on here. There was a period of time after BMX, after I left BMX, I thought I was so separated from BMX. I thought that's it. I will never even meet a BMX person again in my life. And I got into choppers, bikes, motorcycles,
Okay.
Harleys, riding and building them. And while I was doing that, it occurred to me so many times, I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing that I was doing with BMX. I'm just using a welding torch or a grinder or deciding what color to paint the bike or what kind of wheel to put on it, or even building the engines. In my head, this thing works one way. It works one way, but it can be applied to a number of different things. So now the third part of the answer to your question is when there was another period of time. My life goes in 15-year periods.
Oh, that's handy.
It's a cycle.
And I've had it's almost a reincarnation thing, but the same thing up here drives whatever it is I'm looking at. So there was also about a 15-year period in there that I did fine art photography, Ansel Adams kind of stuff, my own approach to that, but let's call it scenics. Okay, not people, scenics. Yep. Then after that is when I moved to Montana. And so I started doing scenics there. I couldn't get, this is where a swear word might come in.
Ooh.
I couldn't get diddly shit. I couldn't find, okay, you guys know how beautiful this state is. I couldn't find a single good picture. I think it took me years to figure out why. I will come back to that in a moment if I can remember.
Okay.
We'll
You're
try and
welcome to
remember for you.
remind me.
Yeah.
One day I was driving up to my house, and there's a lady that I had met a few months before who was one of these. I think this is safe. Am I safe? Do you know what I'm going to do here? Is it safe?
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have met in my life a number of ladies that are kind of right on the margins. They're not married. They kind of choose their lifestyle, but it's hard. They don't want to work full time be a secretary somewhere. So this particular lady mowed lawns, painted houses, worked all night at cleaning a school. She had a small home that she was paying for. She had a couple cows and some dogs. She's trying to build a life, and she's just working herself to death. She was probably, I know she was in menopause because she told me. If you can picture Andrew Wyeth's Helga, Scandinavian, kind of thin blonde hair. What was her name? What's her name? Austin. Diane Austin.
Okay.
Diane Austin. Man, I'm broadcasting this over there. We're probably going to go to 1 million people. Diana's going to come over and kill my.
It is Montana's number one podcast you're on.
Okay, so I'm sitting there looking at this lady, and her eyes are right on the edge of desperate. She's trying to maintain, marginalize, working her head off. Just and I could see it in her eyes. And she had this kind of Scandinavian look. She had a little bit of a low neckline on, kind of sunburned. There's an old faded tattoo sticking out.
I saw her on your website.
And she's wearing little hippie glasses.
Yep.
Now remember, I'm in Montana, frustrated as hell, trying to take pictures of rivers and mountains, and it ain't working. I'll come back to that in a minute. And so I'm sitting there talking to her, and we're window to window. She came down the hill because she's taking care of the house next door to mine. She came down the hill. I'm going up. I stopped at the mailboxes, and we're going. And my mind is going, Osborn, hey, Osborn, hey, man. And so I'm looking at her, and I'm wondering, what the hell is this bell ringing in my head? And then it dawns on me, and I said, would you mind if I photographed you? Okay, you saw the picture?
Yeah.
Man.
So,
okay. So I started photographing anybody I could find. I went from Diane, which was sad and beautiful, and it told such a story all by itself, picture all by itself. I started photographing anybody that I could find that was interesting. I don't know how long it took me before it dawned on me, there are cowboys in Montana. And I know once I decided that, it took me 6 months to find a cowboy. Now I see them all over the place because I recognize them. I reckon that you guys
The true
recognize
cowboys.
It's how they walk.
Yep.
It's what kind of pants they wear, what kind of belt they have on, what kind of shirt. Not the hat so much.
Yeah.
What kind of boots. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
How they walk, because a lot of them, their horses fell on them. Okay. So I started photographing cowboys. Somewhere along the line, am I talking too much?
No, this is your episode.
Somewhere along the line, I was starting to get kind of a body of work of cowboy photographs, and how do I say that? This is a test. Tell me what book this came out of. Okay. Who is the creator and who is the created?
Oh.
Now I have to think of the name of the book. Are you thinking of it?
That's pretty deep.
Are you good? Because I'm not sure I can remember. What's the name of the book? It's classic. It's old. It's where the devil is making a deal with the artist.
Dante's
I want to
Inferno?
say Freud, but it's not Freud. It's starts with a G, but I'm not sure you pronounce it. We'll think of it.
What was it? What was the? I'll look it up here. What was the quote? What did you say?
Who is the creator?
Who is the creator? Who is the created? And the devil was talking to who? What's his name? I can't. I'm getting old enough. I worry about
Michael
senility all the time. Okay, so here's the point.
We'll work on it.
Bible. It's a Bible verse.
Here's the point. I will think of the name of the book in a minute.
Yeah.
I wish Brian was here. He would know.
Here is the point. This body of work was developing, and so who is the creator? Who is the created? There's a point in art, I think probably any kind of art you're doing, that the art starts telling you what it wants you to do.
Yeah.
So who is the creator and who is the created? Faust. Faust.
Brian would have known.
Faust, yeah, he would have known in a minute.
Well,
Ollie would have probably known.
Ollie probably would have.
My Googling didn't work out.
The cowboy pictures started.
Good one.
They wanted to be a magazine article or a book.
Yeah.
They went way, way beyond that. I learned so much from photographing cowboys. And one day, it was all done. Book's done. It's at the printer. I have all the cowboy pictures I need. And that's a scary place. You're goal-oriented for, I think it was 7-8 years. You're goal-oriented. And that's all of your thoughts are goal-oriented. And then, bam, it's done. That's scary.
So let me ask you a few questions here on this topic. I can't imagine, first of all, not that I would be, but being approached and having some guy say, "Can I photograph you?" The first thought I have is not an honest portrayal of who I am, which is what your work does. How do you get people first to go, "No, I'm a real photographer. It's not going to be seedy. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful." Lure them into what I assume is a studio, and then have them just say, yes, show me at my most vulnerable state, or show me at my wit's end, or whatever that tipping point is. How many times were you told no? How hard was it to convince people to say?
You know who told me no? This is just photographing cowboys. You know who told me no all the time? The ladies. They didn't want me to show their wrinkles. And so the ladies. Here's how it would work with a cowboy. I'd see a cowboy, and I'm thinking in my head, "Oh crap! I have to walk up to him. I have to think something intelligent to say, and I have to do it." And so I'd usually say something like, "Excuse me, my name's Bob Osborn. I'm a photographer, and I would like to try to talk you into being photographed." And every time, your podcast people won't get this. Maybe we can describe it. Every time with a cowboy, Indians are different. Street people are different from that. But cowboys, every time, they would give me the evil eye.
Mm-hmm.
They'd just look at me,
Stare into the depths of your soul,
yeah,
like,
I think that would
why
be
are
hard
you
to
even
stop
talking
watching.
to me?
eyes, and they'd look at me, and up here I'm starting to think, should I?
Oh, my written guy gotta
What
go.
was the
And
story?
they would go like this. Okay. And then I wouldn't know what to say.
Because you were getting a death glare there.
What was the story of you up on the boulder in McLeod? The guy that had all the signs that was all
that
over
guy.
his-
Okay, Lee Smoot.
Yeah, Lee Smoot,
He's
yeah.
gone now.
Gorgeous photographs.
Lee Smoot is a cowboy. He the standard thing, homesteaders, generational. Okay, he had the I'll think of the name of his ranch in a minute. The Snow Heifer Ranch in the road that goes up to Big Timber from that goes up to McLeod from Big Timber.
Okay.
Up in the middle, it's way up a valley off of I-90.
And you were just happened to be on that road in the middle of
No.
Oh.
No, but I'd gone up that road before, and there's one ranch there with a bunch of signs out in front. Boy, you talk about political and what's the word for that? Man, it was scary.
Yeah.
There were probably
Aggressive.
anti-Semitic signs
Yeah,
and
it was
things
goodness.
about
very apparent.
political signs and get rid of these people
Yeah.
and don't do.
Ooh.
Oh man, I mean
Yeah.
scary. You
Yeah.
speed up driving by.
Yeah.
So one day somebody came in my gallery and I'm photographing cowboys and I got a pair of pictures and he says, I know a guy. He has a ranch up. He's an old guy. He's wrinkled. He'd probably make a really good picture. He has a ranch up in the road up to McLeod.
No.
And I said, cool, what's his name? And do you know his phone number? And he said, it's Lee Smoot. And I think it's the White Hereford Snow something or other ranch halfway up. And he says, it's that ranch that has the signs out in front.
Oh, no.
And I'm going, oh, man.
Oh, no.
Great.
Because I got to go up there and photograph him.
Yeah,
Somebody,
seems like a welcoming
I have to do
location
that.
too,
Yeah.
just to walk and
So
knock
I
on the
called
door.
up. So I called up Lee and I said, "Hi, Lee. My name's Robert Osborn. I'm a photographer, and whoever recommended that I call you and ask if I can photograph you." And he does the cowboy thing, and he says, he's real slow. He goes, "Okay." And so I go, "Okay, Lee. How about tomorrow about noon? I have a white Chevy van. I'll be coming in about noon. Don't shoot."
Don't shoot.
Yeah.
Don't shoot.
Uh-huh.
So you should ask Rheanna some questions.
Okay, so I will. The exhibit that's at the CM Russell Museum. What I've seen Bob's work. Let me tell you that Ansel Adams was one of my favorite photographers. I bought the cheap Walmart print when I was in college. That's what I decorated my
Which
apartment
one?
with. El Capitan, and then there was two others that
Yeah.
Walmart carried. There was a series of three. I bought them all.
I think I have the Smith River and the Tetons in the background at my house. So
And until I went to the Bear Museum in Martinsdale last
cool.
year
Okay.
and saw the exhibit.
You were there? Cool.
Yeah, nothing had moved me quite as much to see these large format
Yeah.
pictures. And when I mean large format, we're talking huge,
Big.
life size. Like you can
Yeah.
dig into the wrinkles and the turmoil and the toil on all these faces. So I got to see kind of a smattering of the cowboys. I got to see the street people. I got to see the Indians. So I saw that whole thing. What are we going to see at the CM Russell Museum exhibit? Is it going to be one area? Is it going to be different things that nobody's ever seen before? What are we going to see?
So I have curated.
That's a
There's a
we.
we.
That's
We
a we thing.
curated, and it wasn't easy, but I think it was 25 pictures,
Oh, man.
25 photographs of basically what I thought would be the strongest exhibit
Of his entire work.
of the body of work, of all
Okay.
the
Wow.
bodies of work. So it's all of the subjects. And then of course we threw in one more because I'm
We're talking about Charlie Russell now, right?
right, yeah. So Yeah, and with the Bear Museum, it was really difficult because it was 12, and so I thought it would be a lot easier to choose 25 photographs,
Were you wrong?
which was even more difficult, and talking about the holistic aspect of everything. I look at everything from like way far back, and I think that every photograph makes each stronger side by side to the next, and so it was an amazing process to go through that, especially with the Charlie Russell Museum and their team.
So do you get to be there and say, I think this photo looks better next to this one, or they get to do
They
it? Like,
get to do it.
I'm going to give you
wow.
these.
Yeah, no, they
no. She in the Bear Museum didn't.
In the Bear
didn't
Museum,
you,
I was able to. Yeah.
You work with Elizabeth on curating and then, if I remember correctly, you organized the order.
Right.
And when you took them up there, my best guess, Brian and Rheanna took them up to the Bear, and my best guess is you laid them out in the order that you wanted them in. She's a curator. She does, and she had almost as much input with the Charlie Russell. Not quite. They have really good curators.
They
there.
really do. They have that museum is so art driven. It is absolutely amazing.
We love that. That's the
was
best museum in Montana.
such a pleasure to
Heard it
work
here.
with
It's
them.
one of the best Western
We
museums
didn't even
in the
pay
United
him to
States.
say it.
No,
Yeah,
that was free.
We say it all the time. So
It really
now we have
is.
backup.
I mean,
It's
it was
true.
amazing to work with those. There, 2 or 3 in particular, just pure art driven, which
Yeah.
is so refreshing and so amazing because that's kind of how we base our
Art.
daily life.
Right.
Art.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you don't, tell me to shut up if we go into areas where you're like, we're not discussing that. I'm fine with that. And our listeners love it when you tell me, shut up. We're not going to talk about that.
I can get bossy.
But one of the things that I find interesting is we don't even know these people. I mean, you can feel so much from the image. You can feel so much from just looking at that massive size format of the picture. But it's not like I'm going to buy this picture and hang it in my house.
That's because it's about the art of it.
right.
It doesn't have anything to do with somebody buying it. It doesn't have anything to do. It's about the art of the portraiture and of the photography.
It's not trying to have this mass appeal.
I can see, and I know that you can't see it now, but we framed a massive, beautiful photograph of her name is Baby Girl. And she's was a street person of the Fort Peck Indian Reservation. And nobody would buy that.
see this.
And it doesn't matter that nobody would buy that because
Right in
you
the
see it on the wall and it is absolutely life-changing, stunning.
Maybe she's not in here.
Yes, she
Is
is.
Baby Girl in this thing?
Yep.
Is she? That's how I know everything that's going on in the gallery. I asked Rheanna.
But it's not,
yeah.
if so, there's 2 things about that. There's 2 things. That is such a powerful photograph, and I'm art educated throughout my whole life, which doesn't give me any gold stars or anything. But like, let's say I was
Something worked.
20-year-old me, and I walked into the Met or the MoMA in New York City, which I used to do every Sunday because it was free for students. And so I mean, I would just go there every weekend. If I walked in there and saw
Baby
this
Girl.
photograph at the size that it was, the way that it was framed, I do actually cry.
Yeah.
I would cry. I mean, it is so it is so hard. This is not a picture of a
not-
river with the Tetons behind
No.
it. This is art.
And if you don't have a,
Well, just a minute. She didn't finish that.
Oh.
I'm going to finish
It's
it for her. Nobody is going to buy that picture and hang it over their couch.
Yeah.
We don't do this for money. And that was where you started with that thing. And yet, if you talk about deep art, Can I say that? This is immodest of me. If you talk about deep art, that is such beautiful, gorgeous, deep art that just
100%.
rips your
Absolutely.
heart out.
And what I was going to say is if you don't have a visceral emotional reaction to this artwork, to these photos, to these people
Yeah,
that are being portrayed,
brain
you're
dead.
simply dead inside.
Sure. But all cowboys,
Yeah, every one of them.
the traditional Indians, the street people, I mean, every single, and even Deborah or Diane, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I mean, every single and actually I've taken a few pictures of my daughter, which are like,
Oh, well, you'll see one tonight.
you will.
Ask
I'm
about
excited.
Rheanna's daughter when
You will.
when we're over there.
Yeah.
So
And it is it is such a gorgeous picture, and it's small. And it was okay.
What is
You'll
the
see it.
size of? I mean, these are when I say they're big. What are the size? What's the size of these pieces?
So in inches, probably somewhere around. The largest is like 48 by 65.
Okay.
Give or
She
take.
frames those by herself.
I do.
She does.
Oh wow.
There's
There's
so
a few
huge,
times that I need
they're
some
bigger
help.
than this table.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
There's a
can't
few
even
times
do a
where I
5x7.
that I need. Well, that I need a little help getting it on and off the table. But I mean, I'm what is that, Gilroy or something like that? You know, I have my hands
Gilroy.
over the frame. I mean, they're as tall as I am.
So, in reading, fans, listeners, I was honored to get the book from the Bear Museum because I've done nothing but brag about your work since I've seen it.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
true. Very true.
My
That's
two friends
amazing.
are coming in to town for this exhibit opening because I'm a member, so I get that added benefit.
Cool.
And my one friend has done a photo that's similar, an old cowboy from the area. She had to beg the guy to take a picture. It is fantastic. And I'm like, oh, you are going to love this guy. And so I brought the
Cool.
book out, and she's like, oh.
What book?
This one.
Oh, this is a
okay.
Yeah.
brochure.
Yeah, well, it's as big of a book as I am able to read.
Okay.
But she's like, so then when at the Russell, they handed out all this paraphernalia, and they said at the Russell auction that they were going to have a exhibit on Robert Osborn's photography. I'm like, oh my God. So I text her, I'm like, would you go to this opening with me? And she's like, yeah, not a problem. But one of the things that I have always been enamored with is kind of that less focused on area, the downtrodden, the poverty ridden.
Marginal.
And when I read in this this pamphlet, you were invited, you were requested. Somehow you ended up doing the street people,
Yeah.
but it didn't sound like you just showed up on the streets in Fort Peck on the reservation taking pictures. Tell me how that came to be. How did that happen? And second part of that question, are you setting up a backdrop and lighting right there on the street, or are you doing a makeshift studio somewhere and bringing them in? So two things.
Okay. Let's do the second thing first.
Okay.
When we go to the reservations, we take a backdrop, a strobe, cameras, tripods, whatever we need to set up a temporary, call it a photo studio if you like. Most of the time on the Fort Peck reservation, which, man, I drove out to that. From Livingston to the Fort Peck reservation is
7, 8,
700 miles.
yeah, 7. I was going to say 6 or 7
it's
hours.
a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
7-hour drive one way. I wore out my van. I went so many times. Most of the time on the Fort Peck reservation, which your first part of your question is about, I would photograph in a soup kitchen,
Okay.
or sometimes once or twice on the street, or maybe in somebody's. Where you remember the house we went to with Wilma and Moosey? We went to see Moosey. What's that called? A drive port, a carport,
Yeah.
a carport.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
wherever we could, but mostly in soup kitchens.
Okay.
So now, here's what happened. I was photographing Northern Plains Indians.
Okay.
Okay. Which there are a bunch of pictures in here of those. And I had met an Assiniboine man near where my gallery is, out in Paradise Valley, about a half-hour drive from my gallery. And I photographed him. And this is kind of a... let me just go on with this without trying to tell you guys what I'm telling you. Don LaRock. Don, at the time he was Rattling Thunder LaRock, Assiniboine, poor. He didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license, probably because he lost it, probably because he was drinking, because he used to be an alcoholic, which is kind of normal. Don LaRock. And so a friend of mine told me about him out in the Paradise Valley. I went out and asked him if I could photograph him. And then I found out he didn't have any regalia, he didn't have an eagle feather, he didn't have anything. Yeah, Don LaRock. This right here.
Okay.
Okay. So we went into town. I'm making this story too long. I'm going to tell you anyway because it's interesting. We went into town to a friend of mine in Bozeman who had the Sundance. Sundog. Bruce Van Landingham. Do you know him?
Nope. No, the
Okay,
business.
brilliant gallery. A lot of Indian artifacts. He was a world expert on Indian artifacts. Went in town to see if we could borrow some clothing or something. He was a really good friend of mine. He did a couple shows of my stuff. And so he says, yeah, I have this war shirt that we just got in. And we looked at it, and Don was just amazed because it's like from the late 1800s, and it's a Sioux war shirt. Assiniboine and Sioux are very, very close. Lakota, Dakota, Nakota. Let's see, Nakota would be Assiniboine. Dakota and Lakota would be Sioux. Different kind. Anyway, they're all really closely related. And then Bruce gave us some beads, and I don't know what else. Somewhere or other, I found an eagle feather. And so we did a photo session, and it came out really good, except he had a mustache, and he looked like a French fur trader.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, how do Jesus. So I went out to where he worked in Paradise Valley, and I showed him the pictures, and I said, they're beautiful, except. And I said, the mustache makes you look kind of like this is a white guy talking.
Yeah,
here.
right.
I'm a white guy talking to a native guy, so. And he says, oh, you want me to shave it off? I says, cool. Okay, keep in mind, each time that we did a photo session, I had to drive out there, pick him up, come back. So while we had the war shirt and the beads and stuff like that, we did photo session number 2. Which is in the Charlie Russell. The exhibit. It is powerful, straight up.
No mustache.
No, it's just quintessential, timeless. I don't like Native American. A lot of Indian people don't like Native American because here we get a little political. America stole all. You know how long they've been here?
Forever.
30,000 years. 30,000 years. We us whiteys have been here 400 years.
Yeah.
And America stole all their lands from them. They didn't even have a word for ownership of land. It was just the land. It was their hunting grounds. It was, okay. So a lot of Native people don't like the phrase Native American. Native's okay. Indian works most of the time, not always. Okay.
Okay.
Quintessential. Look for that picture.
I'm going
Because
to.
it is
Well,
so-
I'm going to look at them all.
It's straight on, straight, just looking right into the lens. Okay. So Don, that was second photo session. While I was researching that, I came across Catlin and Bodmer. And they've got they do these paintings of Assiniboine people from 1830s here in Montana. And they've got I can't do this with the mic on, but they've got red paint across here, and they've got a roach up here, porcupine quills, and they've got a hand, black hand across their mouth, their face, and they're warrior looking dudes. And so I showed second photo session. We're doing it. We got a cool picture. Okay. But somewhere in there, I said, yeah, I was researching this and I came across this picture by, I think it was Catlin, George Catlin. I didn't know who it was by. So I showed Don, and I said, I came across this picture, and he says, oh, that's a Catlin. And he says, so you want me to wear war paint? And I'm going, yeah, man. So that was our third photo session, and he wore war paint. I think that
Also
picture's
in
in
the-
there too,
yep.
isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, so you'll see it. Third time, Don couldn't drive. He's dirt poor. This is a common story. Lives way out in the valley. He didn't get into town hardly at all. But when he would get into town, he would stop by my gallery.
Okay.
And and I'm going to tell you a real story here that's a little whitey Indian, a little there. You can, okay, I'll tell you the story and you'll love it by the time I'm done. Okay. So after the third photo session, I had started going up to the Fort Peck Indian Reservation, and I would go up there and I would go to a powwow or something like that, and I would find somebody that looked like they'd make a good photograph, and I would approach them and be polite and respectful and try to be intelligent and all that. And this is a different culture. So
Yep.
all I'm doing is telling you how it is. Okay. And they would say, okay. And I would tell them, okay, I have this, I'm in the hotel, whatever it was called, and they have a conference room, and they're over on, and they knew where it was. And I'll meet you there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. They don't show up.
Yep.
So I call them, and they don't answer the phone because they know who's calling. I just got shined on, you know? So that wasn't working. So one day Don comes into town, and he says, so how's it going up to Fort Peck, which is where he's from. He was born in Poplar on Fort Peck, Assiniboine. Nakota, Assiniboine, which we are both adopted into. That's a big deal.
It is.
That is a big deal. I just slid past that.
It's
Yeah,
a huge
honor.
Huge honor.
Yep.
Huge. Okay. Separately. Not. Okay. So Dawn says, how's it going? And I'm going, it's not working real good. And so Dawn says, maybe I should come up there with you. Okay, now this is the whitey. And here I'm going, oh shit. He smokes like a chimney. What in the it's a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
What in the world am I going to talk about with some Indian dude? We're gonna I got to get him a room for the night, and I'm picturing my van up to here and smoke, and I'm going in here. I'm going think of something to say, and I open my mouth and I says yeah, and I really don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
I am so glad that somebody in here
Knew
said,
that was the right thing.
yeah, let's do it. And we did. Don is my adopted brother now. We've gone to the adoption ceremony. I went to his wedding.
You married him,
I know his
didn't
wife.
you?
Huh?
Yeah, you married him, didn't you? Or
I married him?
yeah.
Married
Performed
Don?
the marriage.
No.
No?
the marriage.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, we went through he was with me in the adoption ceremony, so that makes him kind of my adopted brother. I did not marry Don. No.
Oh, okay.
I
No,
went
but
to
No, you didn't
I was
marry
in
him.
there.
You were in.
That's another story.
Performed the
did you
ceremony.
perform the
Sorry.
ceremony?
Don, who has become a really good friend of mine. I will get to how I was invited to photograph street people.
Okay.
Don,
Looking
who
forward
has
to it.
become a really good friend of mine. This was another one of those whitey things. He says, I'm getting married, and I would like you to come to my wedding. It's the middle of the winter. I'd like to throw a word in there that I can't say. Starts with F. It was the middle of the winter. There were whiteouts. There's 2 tracks down the interstate. There's
Oh,
those big
gosh.
trucks
Yep.
twisted off the side of the road. It's
Beautiful
and I'm
time in
thinking,
Montana.
No way. Yeah, no, it was like
Great travel.
January. I know from checking it was like 20 below
Mm-hmm.
in Fort Peck. And I'm going, no way. I don't like weddings anyway. I get nosebleeds. Weddings are not counting your 10-year redux.
So you're not going to be a wedding photographer?
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I don't. No. And I find myself driving up there. It was 4-wheel drive the whole way. Took
Oh,
me,
my gosh.
instead of 7 hours, I think it was 10, 11, 12 hours to get there. Scary as shit.
Is that why your hair's white?
But I went to Don's wedding, and so I walk in the front door, and Don comes up, and big hug, and he says, "Here, put this on." And he gives me a blue shirt with ribbons on it and stuff. And I says, "What's this for?" And he said, "Didn't I tell you you're my best man?"
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
what a moment.
I didn't know that. So
Well,
I
good thing you made
actually-
it.
So yeah, I was in. I didn't marry Don, but I was in
For the wedding.
Let's keep that really
Poor
clear.
verbiage.
Here.
Yeah, very poor verbiage.
And the wedding ceremony is so interesting. It was about half. Let's see. I'm not sure I'm using this word correctly. Pagan, Indian, historic, Assiniboine language, and
Oh, okay.
half new, modern, probably Catholic, religious. About half, and really interesting. So Dawn. So now Don's coming up there with me every time I go. He introduces me to somebody. I get photographs. He
Oh.
opens the door.
Yeah.
He says, "This white guy is not who you think he is.
Yeah.
You should." Okay. So Don now is going back to where he was born, where he grew up and stuff. And one time we're up there, and he said, I met a girl that I used to know in high school, and she runs the soup kitchen for the homeless people over in Poplar. Her name's Jolene. And I was talking to her I go to bed early. Don didn't. He would stay up and talk to people and find relatives and all kinds of stuff. And he said, I was talking to her last night. We're driving back at this time. And he said, Jolene wanted to know why you don't photograph the street people here. Bam.
Yeah.
It took me 15 seconds to see where I could do it, soup kitchens, who would introduce me, Jolene, where that could go, because I already had a book behind me by now, where that could go, body of work, how powerful. You saw the picture of baby girl, how powerful, deep art those photographs be. 15 seconds. So there was how I was invited, I guess that's a good word, invited to photograph the street people. And we did it all at the soup kitchen over there in Poplar for the first year or two. Until, excuse me, there's a different side of the Indian native Fort Peck reservation story. Until we did it over there, until Jolene got busted for selling crack.
Oh, no.
They tested the walls and they tested for crack. They
shoot.
closed down the soup kitchen. Jolene was using crack herself. One day she punched her mother, got thrown in jail, and so that was the end of that. But by then I knew the guy who was running, Harry Shakes the Spear, who was running the soup kitchen in Wolf Point. So I got to keep photographing the street people. But anyway, I know that was a long answer.
It's a great story. I love it. What apprehension did the street people have when you said, I want to photograph you?
Okay, I have photographed. I've been photographing for I don't know,
20 years.
I could
Longer
argue
than all of us have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, add up all your ages, you still would have been close. I've been photographing for a really long time. What was the question?
What was the apprehension of this?
Hang on, can I butt in?
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So we went. I'm gonna.
While you're getting ready,
When I'm stuttering.
do you accompany Bob on?
She does.
Shoots?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
so You, Bob, and Dawn all driving in the van.
No, Dawn is from a little bit different time.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we have, since Rheanna is, go ahead.
So we went up to the Fort Peck Indian Reservation, and we were driving around. We were looking for Moosey, actually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I get it. I know
and-
where you're going.
And we're walking along the streets, and we run into a few people that Bob has photographed, and we're shaking hands. They're recognizing who Bob is, like remembering all of them. We're looking for Moosey. We're asking where he is, and like walking down the street, and they're just giving hugs and shaking hands and just camaraderie, friendship. And this is years after, you know, and we're driving down the street and, you know, we're in the van, and I went to school. I went to school in Philadelphia, which is a really rough place.
She said carry a knife in her purse
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
when she's on the streets.
It's a very
working.
rough place. And we were driving, and we see two people in the alleyway of between two buildings, and they're just sitting, two or three sitting there, and Bob is like, I'm gonna go see if they know where Moosey is. And I'm
Oh, it was
sitting
scary.
there.
Just a minute. She's not doing this very good. It was scary. It was a little narrow. It was dark.
Yeah.
They're back there. Two of them are sitting on the ground. They got a bottle. There's one guy standing up. That was scary. We went by that. We went by.
Two or
We're trying to
three.
find Moosey. And we went by there 3 or 4 times.
2 or 3 times, yeah. And finally we stopped. Bob's like, I'm just gonna go up to him.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you
I
did.
said, no, I
Yeah,
didn't.
you did.
I said, get in the car, leave the engine running. If
No.
I come running
You
out of there, I'm
said
gonna
come
jump in.
with me, and I
No, I
said I'm
didn't.
sitting in the car with the engine running. I'm not going with you. That's and then,
That was scary.
it was. So he gets out of the car, and I'm in the car. I'm in the driver's seat. I'm ready to go.
With or without him.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully with him.
He goes into the alleyway, and all of a sudden I look over, and here is Bob hugging and slapping hands and laughing. And so I'm like, well, they're having all the fun. I want to get out. So I get out and walk across the street and go into this very scary alleyway and realize that, like, they're friends. It's Wilma.
Yeah.
It's somebody he knows, somebody he's photographed, that they have what's the word? They have connected with one another through
We're friends.
these
We
photographs.
became friends.
They become friends. They have accepted, and walking down the streets is realizing that this isn't that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like I've been photographed before. My daughter, a cowboy, traditional native. It's that you create a connection with somebody because you're creating art, and we ended up hugging and hanging out and you know, just kind of shooting the shit for a while all together in a really, you know, so here's us in an alleyway with 3 very drunk people.
Yeah,
the best
Wilma
kind.
couldn't even get off.
She couldn't stand, but they
Hey.
recognized who we were or who Bob was, and as a friend. And as somebody that they trust, as somebody that they've accepted, as somebody that is just the same right here.
Yeah.
There's no difference whatsoever, which is, you know, something that a lot of people can't get, can't do. Don't.
So
have that.
here's the short answer to your question. The street people on the Fort Peck Reservation are the most friendly, open, get to your heart group of people I ever photographed. They don't. I would before Rheanna came back, I would go there and I'd see maybe baby girl or somebody. We go, how are you and how you been and then how have you really been, because it's not always easy for them. And yeah, after 5-10 minutes, they'd hit me up for $20 or a pack of cigarettes.
Fine.
They're homeless people.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that was a good answer. That was
So what I read in this Bear Museum book, because it has words in it.
Books, okay.
Is that you do when you start when you do the photographing, you're engaging in a conversation. You're getting to
Yes.
know them. You're learning about them so that you
Yes.
can take better photos, which I found really cool. Because it's not just putting someone on a stool or
No.
Not
getting
at
the
all.
lighting correct, like Life Touch does at school pictures.
Right.
No, there's a major, even for me, not even being behind the camera, a major connectiveness. I mean, there's one photograph of my daughter and a little girl. Her name is Sophie.
Sings in the rain.
Sings in the
Sophie sings in the
rain.
rain. Little Indian girl.
Oh my gosh.
Crow.
So
Little
we
crow
brought my
girl.
daughter up. She's at the time, I think 8, because we were looking for 8-year-olds, and brought my daughter up to Crow a few times because it just wasn't working. Okay?
Yeah.
And so
And let's go back to how we decided to do that photograph. This is where Rheanna, my gallery, I was pretty good. I had a gallery. I was pretty good. And then Rheanna came. No, true. Well, not an explosion, but it just started, things started. So tell them how, go back to the start of the 2 little girls photograph,
that was a really
which you'll
cool,
see tonight. That's one of the best
Yeah.
photographs in there. Not
Yeah.
the largest.
No, it's probably the smallest actually, and a
Pro-
really,
yeah, it's smallest.
really amazing
So-
conception.
Go to the start of that. Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you.
When you catch up,
I will.
butt in. So we were going to. So her daughter is a ballet tutu, little white tutu. She was 8 years old.
Okay, go.
I think photographically, and I'm thinking that can make a really cool photograph. The tonalities and the little girl. You met Ami, and she's just okay. And so I think what we were doing was we were thinking of going up there to photograph some Crow people, and I think what happened was I said, let's take Ami with her tutu and ballet shoes and all, and what's that doll she had at the time? Uni, the unicorn doll. and let's photograph her because we'll have everything set up. We'll have all the lights and stuff
That's
like
right. Yeah.
that. Okay, that was where it started. I think it was Rheanna a little bit after. This is how we worked together so well. A while after that, Rheanna, I think, is who it was who said, what if we photographed her with, yes, let's do the tutu and not like that, with a Crow girl. Once again, it goes, bam, that's
brilliant.
Holding hands.
that's brilliant. Yeah.
Holding hands.
And so we did that. We have connections on we've earned them.
Yeah.
Persistence, determination, respect, reciprocation, every way we can. We've earned them. But we have 1 or 2 really good connections on the Flathead Reservation. I don't know which way I'm pointing. Flathead Reservation,
see
the
you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
and Crow. So we called up our lady on Crow, Nelena, and we said, in addition to whoever else we were photographing, could you arrange a couple little girls that we could see with Crow regalia for us to photograph? And we said, and this is where communication breaks down. We said 8 years old. 8 years old. They have to be same age, same. And so we went up there, and the girls were 9. Well, between 8 and 9, you grow about that much.
Didn't work.
So we took the picture, and here's Ami in the tutu, and all the tonalities look great, and the Indian girls look like Ami's mother. So that was now this whole process took about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So we went back, didn't have any good photographs at all, but we could see the potential. And so we called Nelena up again. We said, 8 years old, 8. And that's when Sophie Sings in the Rain showed up. And Sophie Sings in the Rain. And so what we wanted to do, because we had a concept going on here, which kind of grew gradually through this process, we want a little Crow girl and a little white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, European, Western European, tutu,
White
ballet, white,
White girl.
white, crow, standing together, being friends, looking at the viewer and communicating to the viewer, get past it. Whether you're an Indian person, whether you're a white person, Indian people don't trust white people. White people look down on Indian people. These two little girls are going to get
Well, and
past it.
that was the point, was that by the beginning and the end of this photo shoot, both my daughter and Sophie were the language barrier. Sophie didn't speak English. They were playing with each other. They were outside. It didn't matter. And that kind of circles back around to the same thing with the street people, where you're getting this certain connectiveness with your subjects, of where, like, my daughter completely connected with this girl even before the photo shoot. And they became, my daughter was like, I want to be pen pals with this girl.
Yeah.
You know, the street people, you're walking down the street and they're hugging you and, you know, shaking
doing the
hands.
secret handshake, the secret homeless. The secret homeless handshake.
They just showed us a handshake for those who can't see that. Yeah.
But there's a certain connectiveness, whether it be a traditional Indian, a cowboy, a white girl. There they are. A white girl, a street person. I mean, there's a certain connectiveness that is really rare between a certain relationship in people, which is an absolutely beautiful thing that I've been able to experience too, you know.
That's so amazing. And I'm just going to say, I could have this conversation for 3 more hours.
Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely.
However,
no, it's a good
this
thing.
exhibit opening starts in 45 minutes. So I'm going to wrap us I'm going to wrap us up and kick you out.
Thank you.
Because I don't want you to lose, you know, all this time with your adoring fans. And so thank you so much for making my dreams come true.
Thank you.
Let me butt in here. Thank you, ladies, for having us.
Of course.
We hugely appreciate that.
Oh.
It's been an honor for us.
Thank you for asking really penetrating questions, really good questions. Just get down to the deep part of the art.
I have so many more.
I have so many more.
Thank you.
I have so many more. So next time you do an exhibit at the CM Russell, we'll bring you back.
Yeah, part 2.
This is such an important exhibit to me. I think everyone needs to come see it. It's a limited time offer. It's not going to be available all the time. It's not part of a permanent collection. Come to the Russell, come to Great Falls, see this exhibit, make it part of your journey to Great Falls this summer. It's going to be well worth the price of admission and the time you're going to spend connecting with people you never knew in a way that you never knew was possible. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving me a new black and white artist to fawn over, obsess about, and brag about. I love it. And folks, until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful faces in our fine, fine city, we do hope you're creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. We'll see you soon.
We Are No Damn Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.